Hi and welcome back everybody to another reaction video where we try to learn something new and spread history on YouTube. So today we're going to react on the video called Simo Häyhä, the deadliest sniper in military history, from the channel Weird History. As always, I'm going to put in some additional information that I know. So before we go into it, I want to make an announcement, and that is that I'm currently thinking of making a new project, like the textbooks that I did on what Austrians learn about US history, what Croatians learn about US history in their high schools. The link, you can check it out. And also you can check the original video in the description below. Go give them a like and a view, and subscribe to the channel if you like their content. But yeah, I want to make a new project now, and I decided to ask my Patreon community which project they're most interested in, and they're going to choose between three options. You can go on the Patreon page and check them out, but I'm just gonna list the titles so that you know. So the first recommendation from my side is Can You Trust Communists? So where I'm going to analyze communist books, how the communists wrote history, and so it's going to be about books that were written by communists in communist states and published by communist states. The second topic will be objectivism and subjectivism in history. So how objective or subjective historians are. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? And so on. And the third topic is going to be politics and history and self-censorship. So, you know, like politics is infiltrating every science today. So I am kind of interested, like, how politics influences history, and do historians censor themselves on writing different stuff because of it. Yeah, if you want to take part in it, if you want to support future projects, you can go to the Patreon page. The link is down in the description below. Or you can subscribe to the channel if you didn't, and hit the ring bell. And I also appreciate your thoughts on the topic that we discussed. So you can put your comments in the comment section below. And you can also suggest in the comment section the next video that I should react to. Woo. Okay, so I know more about the Winter War in general than about Simo Häyhä, but all the Finns that are new to my channel like invaded the last video about the Winter War and requested Simo, so I decided to do that. Okay, so let's jump into the video.
When World War II broke out in 1939, the Soviet Union decided to invade Finland while everyone else was preoccupied with the war in Europe. But a sniper named Simo Häyhä came to Finland's defense. Häyhä allegedly eliminated a staggering 505 enemy soldiers, which, if accurate, would make him the single deadliest sniper in history. Today we're looking at the man Simo Häyhä and his unbelievable marksmanship.
I know that he was good, but that good?
But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel. Simo would have wanted it that way. All right, let's get sniping. As you might imagine, the invading Soviet soldiers grew to be straight up terrified of Häyhä. Having to patrol the blanched Finnish wilderness with the knowledge that Häyhä could be out there waiting to ping them with a spectacular long-distance shot earned him the nickname Belje Smert, which is Russian for White Death.
Yeah, Belja or Biela, Bela is white, and Smrt is death.
However, Häyhä's fellow Finnish soldiers had a completely different name for him. They called him Taika Ampuja, magic shooter. While that nickname may have been as accurate as Häyhä himself, we have to admit it is somewhat less intimidating than White Death. Simo.
Yeah, I wanted to say, like, yeah, so Soviet Russia invades Finland. The war lasts for approximately 100 days or 3 months. in the end, the Soviets win, but like with big casualties. They had, I think, approximately 200,000 dead, and the Finnish had, as far as I recall, 25,000 dead and approximately 70,000 wounded. They fought mostly on the territory called Karelia, and on the Mannerheim line. And the Finns were very efficient, let's say it that way, and effective. And that's partly because of, let's call it, their tradition, culture. Like, they learn how to ski from early on, and that was one of the harshest winters recorded in human history. So the snow was big, it was cold, very cold, and the Russians weren't equipped like they should be. So the Finns had white jackets, so they would camouflage. They could more easily camouflage with the snow. But the Russians had, I think they had gray and brown uniforms, so they would be perfect targets in a completely like white snowy environment. The Finns, they have a long tradition of skiing and hunting, so they would mostly use hit and run tactics, the famous Moti tactic. They would cut off supply lines, so guerrilla warfare, warfare behind enemy lines, everything like that. So they wouldn't confront the enemy directly, but weaken him and cut off the supply lines and so on.
Simo's exact sniper count varies depending on the source. Some
But yeah, 500 confirmed kills.
suggest he downed as many as 542 Soviet soldiers with his rifle, but no one claims he eliminated any less than 505. This makes him the most effective sniper in any war, with Soviet sniper Ivan Sidorenko sitting at a close second with 500 kills. However, HAYHA's count may even be higher. Rather than stay at a comfortable distance behind his sniper rifle for the entire war, HAYHA may have also cut down several hundred enemy combatants with a submachine gun. If true, that would put his count at approximately 800. Simo, that is a frightening number. Impressive, sure, but holy cow, you're really good at your job.
Yeah, holy cow. Imagine one person, 800 people. 800.
The Winter War lasted for a single winter, as its name suggests, which means HAYHA was putting in serious work. In order to achieve his staggering record, HAYHA was eliminating an average of 5 to 6 enemy soldiers every day. Of course, some days were better than others. HAYHA racked up a terrifying 40 confirmed kills in a single day, scoring 25 and 20 on 2 other record days. The cloud of perpetual death in which
Yeah, just imagine the numbers. So the war lasted for approximately 100 days. He eliminated approximately 500 enemy troops or enemy soldiers. So that's approximately, if we count it that way, that's 5 enemy soldiers a day. But he didn't fight every day. So it's more than 5 enemy soldiers a day. And what was the last number? Like in one day?
Single day, scoring 25 and 20. Of course, some days were better than others. HAYHA racked up a terrifying 40 confirmed kills in a single day, scoring 25 and 20 on 2
That's like 2 confirmed kills in 1 hour.
other record days.
Wow.
The cloud of perpetual death in which he lived saw him promoted from corporal to second lieutenant, the biggest rank jump in the history of Finland's military. HAYHA did not use a scope to forge his legendary sniper count. He preferred to use the plain old iron sight on his
scope
rifle.
is for noobs.
Yeah, no scope. He's just an all-around old-fashioned badass. Beyond being hardcore, there was a strategic reason for this, beyond just showing off. HAYHA recognized that scopes made his enemies an easy target. In addition to making the target slightly bigger, scopes would glint in the sunlight, allowing HAYHA to spot enemy snipers before they spotted him. At the time, every Finnish citizen was required to do 1 year of military service, and HAYHA had done his 14 years earlier, back in 1925. That was the extent of his military experience. He did join the Finnish Civil Guard as a reservist, which is essentially the equivalent to the U.S. National Guard, but he stuck to his civilian life of hunting and farming right up until the Soviets decided to invade in 1939, at which point he was summoned back to service. If his hunting record was anything like his war record, we suspect the deer around HAYHA's home had a nickname for him too. After he completed his year of mandatory service in 1925, HAYHA was given the option to purchase his service weapon, a standard bolt-action rifle. He bought the gun and spent the next decade and a half mastering it. When he was called back to duty during the Winter War, HAYHA brought his old bolt-action rifle, turning down a more modern rifle with advanced optics. The extreme cold, which ranged anywhere from -20 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit, caused frequent weapon malfunctions among his fellow soldiers. But HAYHA's experience with his bolt-action BFF allowed him to keep the gun functional throughout the winter.
Because of the harsh winter, the Russians had more problems with the winter because they were really ill-equipped. And I look for in Google, look for the Sausage War. I won't say anything else, but look at Sausage War, the Sausage War in the inside of the Winter War. So yeah, and like the Soviet troops, I read somewhere that like the Finns were more or less good fed, like they would receive food with high amounts of fat that would produce heat, because more fat in the body produces more heat. But the Russians would only get like bread and tea and sometimes meat. So they were like the winter was way harsher for the Soviets than the Finns, because the Finns were more prepared.
While only having minimal military experience, HAYHA wasn't possessed by the lord of incredible aim. He developed his skill from being a competitive sharpshooter, having grown up a few miles away from the Civil Guard shooting range, which held annual contests. HAYHA regularly participated in these competitions, packing his house full of trophies. Among his accomplishments was the ability to hit a target with his rifle 16 times in a minute at a range of 500 feet, a talent best described as supernatural.
16 shots a minute. And if you take a rifle, at that time, a typical rifle had 5 bullets in it. So in 1 minute, 60 seconds, he would, what? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. He would reload 3 times, 4 times, and aim and shoot and hit the target. What?
HAYHA was deployed to the Kola battlefield, where he and 31 other soldiers were tasked with holding off an invading force of 4,000 Soviet troops. Despite having fewer men on the roster than a college football team, HAYHA's group managed to hold their ground for the entire winter. That's some good goal line defense right there. He and his fellow Finns had a few other advantages beyond his Angel of Death status as a sniper. For instance, the Soviet troops all wore bright green uniforms, which made them stand out like decorated Christmas trees against the snowy white landscape. What also didn't help the Soviets was they lacked officers with any leadership skills, mainly because Stalin had them all executed when he purged the USSR of any potential political opponents. And even though the Soviet...
And as I said, the Soviet, like in the last video about the Winter War, the Soviets had a strict hierarchy of command. So if you're, let's say, a regular soldier somewhere here, you cannot move just like there or left, right, in front. You need to wait for the high command to send the command to the officer so that the officer can inform, I don't know, the blah, 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 and then you can move. But the Finnish army was way more mobile, and like the small units were more, let's say, free to move and to jump into areas that they thought that like the enemy was weakened and so on. So, and throughout history, like in modern history, we can see that the Finnish version, where the smaller units or smaller groups, tactical groups inside of the military, are more efficient than a vigorous hierarchy. That's why today in modern military, you have like small groups, and then they come. Just forget it.
Invasion of Finland was technically successful, they only managed to capture a relatively small amount of border territory, leaving the rest of the country intact. All told, the Soviets suffered nearly 400,000 casualties during the Winter War, compared to the
200,000.
66,000 suffered by Finland.
Maybe they're counting the death and
Most snipers shoot while
injured.
lying flat on their stomachs because it gives enemies a smaller target to aim at. HAYHA fired from a sitting position because he felt the position was better for his aim. He didn't worry too much about making himself a bigger target, as he was just a biscuit over 5 feet tall and would conceal himself in snowbanks and put snow in his mouth to hide his breath. Additionally, HAYHA would pack snow in front of his rifle barrel or pour water on it to freeze it, so that smoke would not rise from it after he fired and give away his position. And in perhaps the biggest departure from sniper etiquette, rather than going for the head, HAYHA aimed for the center mass of his targets, which is effective in wartime, but won't do him any favors on the Black Ops 4 leaderboards. HAYHA's reputation as the John Wick of Finnish snipers eventually drew the ire of the Soviet commanders, who finally grew tired of his nonsense and began targeting him directly. Because getting anywhere near HAYHA was out of the question, they began hammering his general location with artillery strikes. When those didn't work, the Soviets sent teams of counter-snipers to take him out, but HAYHA, being the sniper's sniper, dispatched them with bone-chilling ease. Finally, one Soviet sniper got lucky and blasted HAYHA in the jaw with an exploding round. Despite being described by one friend as having half of his head missing, HAYHA refused to die, and after days of reconstructive surgery, he finally regained consciousness, the day after the Winter War had ended.
Just imagine that, how pesky he was, and to the Russians, but also imagine the big propaganda. Like always, if you have good warriors, good soldiers, they're always good for motivating the people, the population, the soldiers, and everything. So the Russians knew it, and they wanted to eliminate him as fast as possible, because he was actually one of the symbols of the resistance from the Finns. So when you eliminate the symbol of the resistance, maybe the Finns would waver and lose hope. So, like from a Russian perspective.
Despite getting a portion of his face blown entirely off his dome in a time when medicine was still largely experimental, HAYHA survived World War II and went back to hunting and farming. The Finnish government actually gave him a farm in 1961, presumably both to reward him for his service,
He deserved
and they
it.
probably wanted to stay on his good side. HAYHA took up dog breeding and continued hunting, winning the Ruokalahti Hunting Society's Game Cup 5 years in a row. In 1970, he moved into a small apartment where he lived out the rest of his days before passing away at age 96 in 2002. That's right, the dead away at
Ooh, let
age
me
90.
try my Finnish. Rautjovvello haminan sairaskodissa. I don't know what it means. Born and died. 2002. It's 18 years ago.
96 in
Impressive.
2002. That's right, the deadliest sniper in World War II lived long enough to have witnessed the rise of popularity of NSYNC. Simo Häyhä left his quiet farm life in the winter of 1939 to become the most effective sniper in history, racking up over 500 confirmed kills without even using a scope before returning home to live out the rest of the 20th century in peace. What do you think of the White Death? Let us know in the comments, and check out some of these other videos of our weird.
Yeah, the history of Simo is really impressive. I mean, I knew about him. I knew his name, and I knew that he was like top notch, not only in that war, but like one of the best. But I didn't knew the numbers that he had under his belt, and that he lived actually a long, long life. yeah, the Winter War, the Russo-Finnish War. Yeah, although technically the Finns lost the war, so they needed to give up territory like Karelia and some islands and some territory to the northeast. They the Finns showed that Soviet Russia was actually a paper tiger to the rest of the world. Like, imagine the biggest army. Like, I don't know the population of the Soviet Union back then, and neither of Finland, but like a 100 times bigger country attacks such a small country with also a larger population, larger army, and everything, and they cannot conquer them easily. So very interesting, and the Winter War is like in a historical context very important for the time of the Second World War. And after that, the Finns will try to revenge themselves in the so-called the Continuous War, I think, where the Finns then attacked the Soviets to retake the lost territory. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed it. Once again, if you like this, if you want to watch further commentary on this channel about different topics, hit the subscribe button and the ring bell. And if you want to support the projects and have a say in the project, the link to the Patreon account is in the description below. And also a big thanks to my Patreon patrons who already signed for Patreon. Okay, so thank you. See ya.